Hello Mathies, Gatos here. In this video I'm going to introduce how to find intercepts, x and y intercepts, on your graphing calculator. Let's get started with x-intercepts. So the x-intercept is the point that the graph intersects the x-axis. So here I have the x-axis, which has an equation y equals 0. I want to know where this graph intersects it. Now it intersects it at the coordinate x0. Notice the y coordinate is 0. Let's look at how to do this on the calculator. So first thing is we need an equation. So I'm going to press my y equals to pull up this screen. And in y1, I'm going to enter my equation. In this case, it's a linear function. So in the y2, I'm going to enter in 0. 0 because that will graph the x-axis. So now I've graphed the function and the x-axis. So what I want to do is get into my calculate menu. The way that I access that is by doing second trace. Now once I'm in this calculate menu, I want to choose option number 5, which is intersect, because I want to know where the graph intersects the x-axis. Once I do that, I'm going to press enter 3 times. Once to bypass the first curve, once to bypass the second curve, and a third time to bypass the guess option. Let's talk about y-intercepts. So y-intercepts are the point that the graph intersects the y-axis. So the y-axis here, it's where it intersects. Now it has coordinates of 0 and y. The x-coordinate this time is 0. So how we get that on the calculator is using trace. So see this button trace right there, first row, fourth button. That's the button that we're going to use. Here's what trace does. Trace does, if you give me an x value, I will give you the y value that goes with it. So the reason that that will help us is because the x value of a y-intercept is 0. So once we enter trace, we're going to enter in 0 because that's the x value. Press enter, and we're going to get the corresponding y value that goes with that. So let's get graphing. I have 3 examples for us to do. So for the first example, I have 3x minus 5, and I want to find the x and the y intercept. So first things first, let's go into our calculator, into the y equals, and I will enter in 3x minus 5. Let's hit graph. Now I don't know what my last window setting I used was, so I'm going to do zoom 6 to snap me back to the standard window setting. So there goes my graph. Let's find the y-intercept first. So the y-intercept right here is the value of y when x is 0. So if I hit my trace button, and then I'll press 0. So we're telling the calculator that x equals 0. We press enter, and it tells us that y equals negative 5. So that would be the y-intercept of the function. Now to find the x-intercept of the function, I'm going to go back into my y equals, and in y2 I'm going to enter in 0. Now this is a color calculator, so you'll see what I'm doing. If you don't have a color calculator, just trust that it is graphing that. So see, there is my x-axis. So to find the x-intercept, I want to find this point here where the two functions intersect. So I go second, calculate, which is second trace. I'm going to go to option number 5 for intersect, and I press enter 3 times. So first curve, enter, second curve, enter, guess, enter. There is my x-intercept. So 1.6 repeating. Now here's a neat thing that you can do. Since that is a decimal, and you might want it as a fraction, watch what you can do. I'm going to go second mode to quit. That goes out onto your main screen. And if we hit our variable key again and press enter, it calls up the x value that we just calculated. And then I can simply go math, enter, enter, and it turns it into a fraction for me. So just another little thing that you can do, turning x or y intercepts into fractions. Okay, so let's go back to my next one. My next graph that I want to look at is negative 2x plus 8. So let's go into our graphing calculator. and we're going to enter in negative 2x plus 8. So I'll clear this out. Negative 2x plus 8. Now I'll leave the 0 in there because I'm going to use it anyway. So let's hit graph. And there comes my equation and my x-axis. So again, let's start with our y-intercept. So our y-intercept right here has an x value of 0. So I'm going to go trace, and then I'll do 0, enter, and it shows me that my y-intercept is 8. So I can see that I've graphed y equal to 0, so I can find the x-intercept as well. So second trace to get into your calculate menu, option number 5 for intersect, enter for first curve, enter for second curve, enter for guess, and it looks like my x-intercept is 4. Okay, so I want to try one more example with you of something that's not a line. Let's look at this graph here because the process is still the same. So I'm going to enter this one into y1, x squared minus 9. So I'll go into my y equals, clear this out, and I'm going to enter an x with my squared key, and then minus 9. So this isn't a line, it's a parabola, but I'm still going to use all the same steps. So first thing I'm going to do is my y-intercept, which is right here. It has an x value of 0. So I'm going to go trace, 0, enter, and there's my y-intercept at negative 9. Now let's find my x-intercept. Notice there are two x-intercepts, so I have to do this 2 times. So second trace, option number 5 for intersect, and I'm just going to, I see at the top here, I'm on the parabola. If I press the down arrow, I jump, see the equation here, to my x-axis. So I'm just going to toggle with my left cursor, my left arrow, closer to the first one that I want. And I press enter again 3 times. So my first x-intercept is negative 3. Now I'm going to repeat that process. Second trace, option number 5 for intersect. Now see, I'm on you see the curve equation up here, I'm on the parabola. Press down arrow, I jump to the x-axis, and then I'm just going to hit my right arrow to get over closer to the other x-intercept, and press enter 3 times. And there is my x-intercept at 3. So I've seen now 3 examples of graphs as to how to find the x and y intercept. So I hope this video helped, and I look forward to seeing you for the next one.